She was very happy. She was just a lovely girl. She was really like growing up into a really lovely young woman. Although she wasn't the oldest, everybody thought she was the oldest because of the way that she was with them, and also that she was very tall. But she was doing very well at school, and she was very, very well liked and very well loved. All of my children had gone to Bournemouth for the day, which they do every year, and they'd gone into the water. I think they'd been in and out of the water a few times in the day, and they suddenly became out of their depth. My son said that they suddenly couldn't touch the ground, and when they tried to swim back to the shore, they were unable to swim back. And then he had turned around and Sunnah had gone. A lifeguard pulled him out of the water, and unfortunately they couldn't find her. So all of my children have learnt to swim at school. I could confidently say that they had no idea about what riptide was. What would they do if they were in trouble in the water, as is evident by what happened. The secondary school that Sunnah and my son go to, or Sunnah went to, they do water safety. Like at the end of the year, they teach it to children at the end of the school year. So it would be this week. So before they're going to go on some holidays, but obviously that's once a year. And Sunnah didn't make it to this week. It's her first. She was in year 7, so she missed that.
There's clearly a gap then in terms of the knowledge and education that children have. I mean, what do you think would change things in terms of other young children and young people having access to that sort of knowledge?
I think it's really important for children and adults to have a knowledge of what you should do if you are in trouble in the water, because it's not enough to know how to swim. If you don't know what to do if you get into trouble, it's like jumping out of a plane without a parachute. If you jump out of a plane with a parachute on your back but nobody's shown you how to use it, it's useless. Children need to have that parachute when they're in the water. If you ask people about how dangerous they think it is to be paddling on the beach, they'll probably say it's not dangerous at all. But if you ask them if it is dangerous to go into deep water, of course people would go in there with a life jacket on. They would not go into the water if they didn't know how to get out of it. My daughter was in chest-height water, which you would think is completely safe, but it wasn't. And I think without having that knowledge of what you should do, of course it's dangerous. They need to know what to do.
And you've obviously had some time now to reflect on everything. What other things you think that you've witnessed would you like to see to change? What would you like to see come out of this in terms of what can happen?
I would like the government to put more of an emphasis on how important it is to have this taught in schools, because it means that then children, they've got like a fair chance of having this education. All children go to school, so it's a chance to get their attention and give them this life-saving information. I'd like the government to put it on the curriculum. I think it would be really beneficial to have signage around open water, just as a refresher. If you're going to be near water, if you see that information right before you enter the water, you're likely to remember it if you get into trouble in the water. On equipment that is really essential for use, like defibrillator pads, the instructions are on it, so that you can't put them the wrong way around, because the instructions are on it. And even if you've had training on it, you had that training a year ago, when you open that packet, the instructions are there in front of you, because it's essential to have it the right way around. I think the same applies for going into open water. If you have that information right in front of you before you enter the water, you can't go wrong.
So is there anything that we can do in the short, medium, long term to support you in terms of getting that message out or doing more in this space?
I think social media is really important, especially for children and young people. And everybody has a phone. I've seen a lot of things on social media, mostly probably just because I'm looking, getting people to talk about it, getting people to, just take a look. I think that's really important. I think it's not enough to know how to swim. You need to know how to self-rescue if you find yourself in trouble in the water. I think also consider what you're wearing in open water, because my daughter was wearing all black. She was only in chest-height water, but she was unable to be located for 50 minutes. And I think if she had been wearing something which wasn't sort of blending in with the water, they might have been able to find her quicker, and she might still be here today.
Really important messages. I think, having brightly coloured swimwear and clothing when in the water certainly helps. Even when not in trouble, it helps parents to keep an eye and the lifeguards to keep an eye. I think there's some really critical messages. Again, hopefully that's something we can help you with moving forward. Is there anything else that you'd like to say? Or
the education is key. Teaching children in schools, I think, is going to be the thing that makes a change. Especially when you look at the figures and see that accidental drowning affects low-income families more than it does affect other families. I think, how could they not teach it in schools when the most disadvantaged children are the ones that are struggling the most? They should teach it to them.
But I think you're right, finding other ways. If we can get every child through the education system, because most children go to schools, and that not all do, but most children do, and then supplement that with signage when people are heading to the water, supplement that with digital mechanisms, social media and TV. That will help replay the message to people, and hopefully it just becomes inherent in the way that once they are in the water, around the water, they remember those things.